it's Renee from the Craft Table. We are at week 7 of our summer embroidery stitch along. Have you heard that expression, messy hair don't care? That's me at the moment. Apologize a little bit. Hope you don't mind. It's a super casual evening here. I usually record this part of the video earlier in the day. This week has really gotten away from me. It is currently Friday night, and usually by now I have finished all the videos, I have edited them, and I have uploaded them to YouTube and scheduled them for Saturday morning. I have not done that yet. But the good news is, if you look behind me, the way the lighting is, and with it being later in the day, you can see the really pretty mountains in the background of where I am. And earlier today, it was raining and there was a really pretty rainbow outside, and I took a picture with my cell phone. And of course, the picture never does the reality justice, but I'll show you that picture later on in the video. So anyway, it is week 7, and we are doing French knots this week. If you've never done French knots before, you might find it a little awkward the first couple of times that you do the stitch. I recommend, if that is the case, just sort of play back my video a couple of times. The first time I do the French knot, I do it rather slowly. I don't know if that's helpful or not. Sometimes it's better to just like see the stitch and then go back and, break it down little by little. But I did it backwards this time. I did it very, very slowly, and then I did it again, kind of in a more fluid motion. So anyway, I hope you really enjoy learning this embroidery stitch if it's new to you. Before we get into actually stitching the French knots, I want to point out it is helpful to reference the color and stitch guide in your pattern. Ignore mine. It's very wrinkled and it's got coffee stains on it. You'll see right here these yellow dots. The yellow dots is one of the places that we will be embroidering the French knot. And if you look over here, it'll say French knot yellow. The yellow is the color that I'll be using. And then in parentheses, it says wrap 3 times. And then up here it says French knot aqua wrap 2 times. So so when you get to embroidering the French knots, you might want to reference this part so that you'll know if you should be wrapping your thread twice or 3 times to get the desired effect for that particular area. Let me take the fabric out of the hoop for a minute. All right, so this is one place that we'll be embroidering the French knots. And then on the top of these little, they look kind of like trees, we'll be doing French knots. Now, the little, what I call branches of the trees, have a little dot at the end too. And we'll be going over that in a future video when we cover the pistol stitch. So it may look like you're supposed to do French knots there, but you are not. The other place for French knots are these circles. And then at the very tip of these yellow backstitch lines, we'll be doing French knots as well. The stitch is the same regardless of whether you are wrapping your needle 2 times or 3 times or even just 1 time. I'm going to begin on these dots, circles, whatever you want to call them. Got my thread knotted, and I'm going to bring my needle up from the back, right in the center of that circle. So I'm holding my thread pretty close to the base, and I'm holding it rather tautly. And then I'm going to put my needle right there, right on top of the thread, and I'm wrapping it around my needle 3 times. Okay, so I go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm placing my needle right next to where I came up. And I'm sort of doing this all in one motion while I'm placing my needle very close to where I came up. I'm holding this tautly, and the wrap portion has slid down to the base of my needle. So holding this tautly in my left hand, I'm going to pull the needle to the back. At the last minute, I release the thread and continue pulling it back. And that is my French knot. So let's do that again. Coming up from the back, pulling the thread all the way to the top. I'm holding that thread tautly, placing my needle on top of the thread and wrapping it 1, 2, 3 times. Placing my needle down and sort of sliding the wrapped portion down to the base of the needle. Holding it tautly, I pull the needle to the back and then release the thread at the end. 1, 2, 3. The pearl 8 size cotton and wrapping it 3 times, I'm able to cover up that small circle on my pattern. I started on this side of this area right here where I have sort of the 2 lines of circles. So I started here so that I can do these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And then when I finish this, my thread's in the back and I don't have very far to travel before I start here. And then I can do the French knots there. And those are my French knots. So here is our progress after week 7 of doing French knots. So the yellow French knots here and the yellow French knots here were done wrapping the thread around the needle 3 times. The yellow French knots down at the bottom and the aqua French knots up here at the top, I did only wrapping them 2 times. There you have it, the French knot. In my opinion, once you get the hang of doing this embroidery stitch, it's really a lot of fun, and you can depending on the pattern that you're working on, I've worked on some where it's just all French knots and you get into a rhythm, and I find the time goes by really quickly, and before you know it, you've stitched quite a bit of French knots, and I really do enjoy this particular stitch. As you can tell, our panel is starting to fill up. You can start to see the design coming along, and that's always fun to watch it develop. I have not been on social media much lately, and so if you are on Instagram and you like to see what's going on, I apologize. I haven't even been notifying people of the last few weeks of our stitch along. I'm going to try and do some this weekend. But I do want to thank those of you who have tagged me and sent me pictures of your stitching, whether it's from last year or your progress this time. And I'm going to try and do better about posting some of those. But I want to say thank you for that. I love seeing what you're working on. Okay, so I promised you a rainbow. So let's take a look at that. It's kind of cool, right? I never get tired of seeing rainbows. All right, well, that's it for this week. Let me know if you have any questions on this stitch or any of the previous stitches, and have a great week. And I'll see you next time. Happy stitching.